All right, so imagine finding out you have been paying nearly 40 years for a service that you're not getting, and you couldn't get even if you wanted to get it.
Ooh, frustrating. Well, that's what happened to a Layton man. Unfortunately, he couldn't get all of his money refunded, so he decided to get Gephardt. Matt?
Actually, Mike, he says he just realized he's been paying for secondary water now for decades, even though the pipes that pump that water to his property, they don't even exist. Now he is fighting for a refund from the water district.
Here we go.
When Bruce Hart turns on the sprinklers, the meter is running. Bruce and everybody else on his street here in Layton get water for their lawns from the city pipes, the same pipes that supply the drinking water. Secondary water is not an option here. So then riddle me this. Why have Bruce and his neighbors been paying for secondary water?
Yes, I thought, doggone,
It only came to Bruce's attention when, for the first time, he took a hard look at every single line item on this year's property tax assessment.
and I noticed I had a charge from Weber Basin Water for like $70.
Bruce says he drove over to Weber Basin to ask about the curious charge.
But she just, Mr. Hart, it's your secondary water. And that's when I said, I don't have any secondary water, but I'd love to have it.
No, Weber Basin confirmed where Bruce lives, he cannot have it.
She came back and says, we don't provide secondary water up there. I said, well, then why am I being charged for it? It was in 2022.
That set Bruce off on a deep dive.
And I could see what was happening year after year.
Combing through years,
Every year I've been charged for it.
decades really, of taxes. And every year he found that line item.
There was no service rendered.
In total, close to $2,000 paid over 37 years for water that was not supplied. Bruce returned to Weber Basin, this time demanding a refund.
But doggone it, why don't you guys just give me back the money? You've used the money. You just charged me for something and you've never provided.
But when he was told he could only get some of his money back, Bruce decided it was time to call me.
Bruce Hart is frustrated because he's been paying for decades for nothing.
So I took it to the water district.
He actually has purchased the right to use water on his property.
Darren Hess is Weber Basin's assistant general manager over operations. He says water rights are valuable, and that is what Bruce has.
Why would somebody pay for water rights if they cannot access the water?
Again, he's purchased the right to use the water, and so...
But he can't access it. He physically could not access it even if he wanted to.
But then there are individuals that say, my father and grandfather told me to never cancel this water because this water is valuable.
Hess confirmed Bruce is not alone. Many of his neighbors have also been charged annually for the right to use water they cannot access, but he emphasized they have not been paying for nothing. If they want secondary water, they can get it. They just have to come up with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to put in the infrastructure.
They could pool their resources and say, hey, we want to dig up the streets and actually put in a secondary water system. So that is a possibility.
Is it a realistic possibility?
It would be, funding would probably be an issue.
As for Bruce's money, Hess says even though they do not have to, they are offering him a refund of about 9 years of the 37 years that he paid.
You know, that's something that the district has decided to do to try to help, Mr. Hart feel better about the situation.
Why not 100%?
Because he's had this charge on his property taxes for 37 years. There's some personal responsibility here that individuals need to have when they look at their property tax statements.
It says, right's right, wrong's wrong.
Bruce has rejected that offer. He has canceled his water rights so he won't be charged again going forward, and he's now weighing his legal options to try and recoup all of what he's previously paid.
It just isn't right.
As a result of all of this, the Weber Basin Water District says they are now sending notices out to people like Bruce who've been paying for water rights they cannot use to make sure they know they're paying for those. In the meantime, whether you have secondary water, whether you live in Layton or not, it is tax notice time. Maybe don't take for granted that what comes on that notice is a service that you're actually getting. If you got something you want me to investigate, let me know about it. The number 385-707-6153, or you can email me, matt@ksl.com.